Moving on, we have the Dolphins and Titans, 38-10. We had a low hit on Mariota this game that, quite frankly, the Titans were not happy about.
Yeah, Oliver Vernon came in and hit him low. Mariota suffered a grade 2 MCL sprain. It's likely that he may not play on Sunday against. I'm not sure who the Titans play next Sunday, but Zach Mettenberger will have to come in and start for him if Mariota cannot go.
Yeah, you look before the pick, he was having a pretty good. No, wait, before the injury, he was having a pretty good game, and then after that injury, look, he threw 2 picks. He wasn't the same quarterback, but I mean, that's not to blame so much on him as just the Titans leaving him in with that injury.
Yeah, certainly his mobility was definitely affected after the hit. Really wasn't able to run around and climb in the pocket as well as he could before. He did have 2 interceptions. He had a touchdown as well.
Once again, after that injury.
Yeah, exactly. But really, I mean, they didn't have any type of running game. Bishop Sankey has not lived up to any expectation, the former star at Washington. They bring in Dexter McCluster. He hasn't really done much there. Yeah, but he's not a bell cow back. He's a third down back typically to catch balls out of the backfield. This Tennessee team has a good defense, but they were on the field way too much. They did a good job early. Quarterback Ryan Tannehill didn't have a great game. He kind of had an ugly game. He had 2 interceptions. He did have 2 touchdowns late in the game. They were kind of meaningless. At least the second one was. The first one kept them in it. Well, they were winning, but. This Tennessee defense is. I still think they have definitely talent. Wesley Woodyard is a good outside linebacker. Opposite of him is Brian Arakpo. As for the back end, Jason McCourty, a solid cornerback, and Parrish Cox, the guy they brought in from San Francisco, injured now, but they have pieces to build on. Also, Denoris Searcy back there, the former Buffalo Bill. The defense is there. The offense, however, they need to give their defense time to rest and stay on the field. They were really inefficient. And that brings me to my next point. Give credit to this Miami defense finally hitting the quarterback and sacking. They sacked Mariota 5 times. They sacked Mettenberger once, so 6 sacks on the day. Cameron Wake had 4 of them. He had a huge game. He had 4 tackles, 4 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Finally, the Bills' front 4 able to get to the quarterback. The Dolphins, front 4 getting to the quarterback.
Yeah, definitely. Dolphins finally able to step it up on defense and get that win. Moving on, we have an upset here. We have the Carolina Panthers beating the Seattle Seahawks, 27-23. Seattle now drops to 2-4 on the season, and if you're Seattle, you look at that Lions game, Seattle could be very well sitting at 1-5 right now.
Yeah, Carolina had a 80-yard comeback drive at the end of that game. Cam Newton hit Greg Olsen in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. On that last drive, Seattle played a lot of soft zone, and when they did play man, Newton hit his receivers on just quick hitches and just took what the defense was going to give them. They hit the passes that were in between the zones. There was a key 2nd and long right after Bruce Irving had a sack. Newton was able to hit Devin Funchess for a gain of 17 to set up a 3rd and short, which set up that touchdown. So Seattle has got to get back what they're based on. So that's just man coverage. They do play zone, but they have to play better defense than that at the end of the game right there.
Yeah, for sure there. I do believe at the end of the game they were in a man coverage because Sherman had Olsen going down the sideline. He just didn't pick him up, and then Olsen was able to break out and was wide open.
Yeah, right in the middle of the end zone, there was a good throw by Newton. Hey, the Panthers are now 5-0. I wouldn't have believed you if you would have told me that in the beginning of the season. They're doing a good job. Jonathan Stewart, 20 carries, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. This Carolina team likes to run the football, and they do so real well.
And, I mean, give credit to Cam Newton. Most running quarterbacks have not had the success he has had in the NFL.
Yeah, and he's definitely a better – he's becoming a better quarterback throwing the football at least. now? Is he Russell Wilson, Tom Brady? No, but look, he's a lot better than Colin Kaepernick at this point, and he's slowly developing into a very good, quarterback, I would say. He didn't have a great game. He had 2 interceptions, but hey, they got the win. At the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yep, and like I said, him being a good running quarterback, he just adjusts. Mobile quarterbacks have to adjust to what teams are doing to him, and Newton has done that.
Yeah, and hey, give credit to this Carolina defense. They had 4 sacks on Russell Wilson. They did a good job getting to him. Losing Greg Hardy was pretty big for them, but they're able to fill in. And Luke Kuechly came back from injury. He had a monster game, 14 tackles. He was all over the field, making plays, running around, chasing down Marshawn Lynch and other Seahawks wide receivers and running backs.
Yep. We got to move on now to the Packers and Chargers game. Well, Green Bay pulls this one off 27-20, withstanding career performance from Rivers. What do you have on this one?
Rivers threw it 65 times, 500 yards, 2 touchdowns. He needed 44 completions if they wanted to win the game. Unable to do so, or tie the game rather, unable to do so. Keenan Allen had a monster game. 14 catches, 157 yards, 11.2 yards. I believe he tied the franchise record, which he holds, I believe, when he surpassed Kellen Winslow. Or maybe he tied that record. Actually, I'm not sure on that one. But no, Phillip Rivers dinked and dunked his way against Green Bay, took what the defense was going to give him. Early on, Green Bay showed a lot of man coverage. They eventually dropped into a lot of zone. They kept everything in front of them, but Phillip Rivers picked them apart all underneath, albeit he didn't have a whole lot of big plays. He had a few, but not a whole lot of them. It was basically just a lot of underneath stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Chargers, they probably ran about 25 screenplays that game. Because you look at Green Bay's run defense that game, their run defense was phenomenal. You look at looking at the numbers, net rushing yards for the Chargers, 60. Packers had 133 rushing yards. I mean, I'd argue the Packers should have pulled away with this one. They just chose to stop running it with Starks after that big run.
Yeah, Starks had 10 carries, 112 yards. Man, they certainly could have bled out the clock a little bit more, giving it to him. Eddie Lacy only had 4 carries for 3 yards. I wonder if there's... are you aware of any injury to Lacy?
Yeah, his ankle. I just think his ankle has really affected him as a runner. You look, he just doesn't have that explosion right now. His ankle has definitely held him back. You know, he had that one good game, that 92 rushing yard game, but he just hasn't been able to get it going. You know, he just needs to recover. I think they're fine going with Starks right now. Starks has definitely carried the load for him so far. And another thing to look at in this game, Rodgers 16 of 29, 255, 2 touchdowns. Packers have played against some good defenses these past 3 weeks. I mean, you go against the Rams last week, you're going up against the Chargers. Chargers do not have a secondary that will just roll over. Chargers have, you look at their, who they have in their secondary. They have Eric Weddle, they have Flowers, you know.
Brandon Flowers, yes. Opposite of Flowers is cornerback Jason Verrett, who's good. They have 2 good corners between Flowers and Verrett. Flowers had a few penalties thrown at him in this game, but look, they were competitive against Green Bay for the most part in this game. They got behind 17-3 early, but hey, props to them for hanging in there, though.
Another thing to look at Green Bay, their receivers were terrible at running routes in this game. They were not able to get open at all. You look at who they have. They ended up losing Montgomery for a good portion of this game, and once they lost Montgomery, you saw there was not as much areas for Rodgers to throw in. You look at receivers like Jeff Janis. Jeff Janis is really only a good vertical receiver. He can't do anything underneath. And then Randall Cobb, they're going to double him up. You know, they did a good job on Cobb in this game, and they were able to keep the receivers at bay. You know, with all the injuries to this Green Bay receiving core, it's got to be difficult on Rodgers.
Yeah, wow. I'm looking at the receiving numbers, and Rodgers threw it all over, man. Look, how many 9 different receivers? Holy moly. Rivers did a good job, too, spreading the ball around, but that's incredible. No receiver for the Packers had more than 2 catches, though.
Yep, no more than 2. But once they lost Montgomery, I mean, who are you going up after that? You've got Janis and this guy. I've never heard of Jay Perillo. Is he like some tight end? Never heard of him. You know, they're running thin on receivers. They might want to go sign someone. You know, they just don't have that speed that they need to get away from these cornerbacks, and it's making it really tough on Rodgers.
Yeah, they were able to eke out a victory, though, against San Diego. The Chargers now fall to 2-4. As I mentioned, they have my Oakland Raiders next week in San Diego. San Francisco and Baltimore now. The Niners pull out an ugly victory, 25-20, defeating the Ravens. Kaepernick looks like his old self somewhat. He had a good game. It was against a very, very mediocre
pass rush,
pass defense.
Coverage.
Exactly, in a Baltimore team. But hey, he threw it for 340 yards and 2 touchdowns. No interceptions. That's the big thing for Kaepernick when he doesn't have any interceptions. So they're able to run away with this.
A lot of those yards did come on like wide open plays, though.
Yeah.
Broken coverages, all that.
Yeah, but you still have to throw it, so give him credit there. He did have a couple good throws, including a deep corner route to Anquan Bolden. That was the best throw that I've seen him made all year long, at least. So maybe he can build on that momentum. As for Baltimore, 1-5 now. Really, any hopes of making the playoffs have been diminished.
Oh, Flacco was terrible in this game. Did you see that one throw he made? He was like throwing under pressure. He just like kind of lobbed it up. There was no one in the zone. He threw it right to the defender.
Yeah, as for Flacco, he had 2 interceptions. That was one of them. Not playing great football. He's not playing to that pedigree that he was playing at when they won that Super Bowl, ironically, against the Niners. This time the Niners get back. They beat the Ravens 25-20. Let's get to the Sunday night game. That was the Colts and the Patriots. The Colts lose this one 34-27, the first meeting of these two teams since Deflategate.
Yeah, this is actually a tight game. Let's see, what did Brady actually threw a pick 6 in this game.
Yeah, he did. It wasn't his fault. They bounced off Julian Edelman's hands. Edelman kind of struggled in this game, mainly because on the touchdown pass, the first touchdown for the Patriots, I think he dislocated his finger, some sort of injury to the finger. I'm not sure if it was dislocation or not, but definitely an injury. He had his fingers taped, and he had a few drops in this game.
Yeah, and Colts actually played pretty well in this one. Andrew Luck, 30 of 50. He had 312 yards, 3 touchdowns. LeGarrette Blount for New England had a big game, 93 yards and a touchdown. Frank Gore finally picking it up, 13 carries, 78 yards. But to me, the big play in this game, the worst trick play in NFL history. Did you see that play, Matt?
Yeah, I did. That was an ugly play. I don't know what they were trying to do. I guess they were just trying to outflank the Patriots on the right side. It looked like they were trying to throw it behind some of those big bodies they had, those blockers. But they should have called a timeout. I'm really surprised Chuck Pagano didn't take a timeout. That really changed the tide in this game.
Well, what were they thinking, given New England good field position? The guy's just like sitting there. He has no blockers. A quarterback, and like a center. Everyone else is on the right side. Oh yeah, let's just hike the ball right to the punter when there's 3 guys on the line.
Exactly, and the center wasn't even a typical center. It was just a skinny guy. So I have no idea what they were thinking.
Yeah, that was a sign that the Colts were not going to win that game.